Hey everyone, Pastor Vaughn here with another episode of Rock Talk. It's the Rock Church podcast. Today you are in for a treat. Today we have in with us Glen and Janet Neighbors. They are joining us for episode 2 of Rock Talk. And we're going to be talking about uncommon commitment. What does commitment look like and why do we need commitment in our relationships? You know, uncommon commitment today is a necessity because today people are treating commitment more like a contract rather than a covenant. So we're going to get right into it. Here we go with another episode of Rock Talk. Thank you guys for jumping on this. I really do appreciate this, and I know our church people are going to appreciate this as well because, we do live in a culture that doesn't take commitment seriously. And maybe the definition of commitment has differed through the ages. But as Christians, I believe we got to go back to the Bible definition. We got to go back to what biblical commitment looks like. And I believe you guys really exemplify what that looks like in your marriage. In fact, so when we went through this, I have a whole calendar planning out the future podcasts. I'm like, who can we have talk about commitment? Jill and I, we could talk about commitment, but we've only been married for 10 years. Sad fact is a lot of people today's age don't stay married for more than a handful of years before they end in divorce, or maybe they're live-ins and they break up. And it's very rare to find someone that's been married for more than 20 plus years and have a healthy relationship. So actually my wife brought up you guys. I'm like, oh, that would be so awesome if we can have you guys on this and really kind of show what this looks like. And so, but yeah.
So you're not recording right now, right?
Oh no, we're recording right now. This is all recording.
You're not either.
I am. It's all right here. It's all recording.
Oh dear.
And so you're good to go. So I guess what we want to do, one of our goals with this podcast is not only to give some Christian values, but also help the church get to know you. Our church has grown a little bit. We have some new people in our church. And so I guess you can let me know. I kind of know your story a little bit, but for those who are listening in the future is, how did you guys meet?
How did we meet?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was going to airline school in Denver, Colorado, and the Air Force Base was there, and that's where we met. Actually, a friend of mine asked me if we'd like to go to the USO Club because she helped out there. It's a military service organization, and she asked if I'd like to go with her, and I said sure. So her boyfriend and her picked me up, and of course he was another airman, and he had an airman with him, and so we went to the USO Club, and of course, they dance and the guys have their home cooked meal. It's kind of the home away from home for military guys. Excuse me. And anyway, so I think he was more interested in the chow than he was me, but whatever.
Guys usually are more interested in the food.
It was homemade chow. It was like you chow all week, kind of like the gross stuff. Then you had this nice stuff like the women cooked, potatoes and the good stuff. But when I first saw Jenny, I thought, well, that Jen is cute to myself.
But it took us probably a couple of weeks to a month before we actually connected. Yeah. So,
Oh, really?
As a relationship, that's when we started.
What would that conversation look like?
For what?
For when you guys first started connecting. Who approached who? What did you guys say?
Well, actually, it was a birthday kiss because...
There's kissing involved?
Oh, yeah.
It was kissing
Well,
involved.
that's when we thought we wanted to get together. When we came back we had another friend, too, and when they came back from this event we were at, they, Clay and Pam's boyfriend gave me a kiss on the cheek. Happy birthday, Well, the only one that didn't was Glen. So he remembered that a couple of weeks later when we were at a dance, just not together, but just at a dance. And he said, I think there's a matter of a birthday kiss that maybe we need to catch up on.
Smooth
that, whatever.
Operator
so
Glen.
Kind of really that's, that and his big lie. But other than that, it kind of attracted me.
So it was like this. I gave her a kiss, but it was a kiss. It was not on the cheek. It was a kiss on the lips. And it was a kiss, like a...
You went straight for it.
Like juicy, man.
Yeah.
And she goes, do that again. So I did it again. Anyway, it was cool. And then we got out and talking. And I said, well, it's be the last one you get because I'm going to Germany 3 years. That's the big lie.
And then I found out he was, not being honest. So
I
actually,
was messing with her.
yeah, he was just messing with me. But anyway, so that's kind of how it started. And then we went on a date a couple of days later, and at the base we went to a movie. And then on Sunday he asked me to marry him. And by the 17th of December we were engaged. And in February he went to his next base, and we didn't see each other till June. I went to see him one time in Texas where he was at, and he came home in August, a week before the wedding, and we got married. And here it is 53 years later. So
Wow.
it
Yeah.
was quite a whirlwind, but we learned a lot through mail. We were very good about writing every
Letters.
day. So there was
Lot of
kind of like pen pal.
Yeah.
A lot of letters, yeah, everyday letters.
So
Yeah.
it was good. It was good, and it's still good. So
So you guys been married for 53 years.
53
Yeah.
years.
53
Well,
years.
1 month, 24 days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
little-
How many kids do you guys have?
We got 2, Glen Jr. and Heidi.
Yeah. And how many grandkids do you guys have?
4.
4,
4 grandkids. You guys have a full home, full house.
2 adults, two little ones, and 2 adult grandkids. So
Yeah.
That's
and
really cool.
I gotta say we got a granddaughter-in-law on the way. So
Oh, there you go.
In
Yeah.
another year or so, we'll probably they'll settle up there too. So
Kind of. Well, that's such a
exciting.
cool
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. So, with you guys' 53 years of marriage, I would assume that not all of it has been mountaintop rides. Just it hasn't always been super, super great. I guess every marriage has their trials and tribulations. If you guys are comfortable, can you guys just share some of those? Maybe just some hard
well,
seasons.
we were poor. The
Okay.
richer and poor, the vows that you say
Mm-hmm.
are true.
Been there. Yeah.
We were very poor when we got married, $50 a week or every 2 weeks or whatever, doesn't go very far. We lived on a lot of salad and lettuce, or lettuce and ketchup, as I would
Ketchup,
say.
lettuce.
Lettuce and ketchup. What is
Lettuce
that?
and ketchup. It's just our salad because
Just,
we were so poor we couldn't afford anything.
Literally, just lettuce
and
Literally-
ketchup.
Yeah,
Literally
there's a ketchup
poor.
on it for Jesse.
Things you could make things with, but I didn't have an egg or I didn't have this or that. So, but anyway, that's a military life for you. But then the hardest part probably was when he went overseas for 18 months. He went to Okinawa, and I had gotten pregnant, so he went over before Glen Jr. was born, and about a month before he was born. So that was really hard. And then he got to come home for a month during that 18-month stint, and little Glenn was, of course, teething, so you know what that's like. So it wasn't a very pleasant experience for him. And so actually our marriage really got off to a better start in 2 years later when he was actually home in the States, and we were out of the military, even though we loved the military, but it was just not going to be our lifestyle. So
Yeah.
and yes, we had ups and downs. And the thing was, my mom said before we got married, she had this deal: never go to bed with anger. Never be mad at each other when you go to bed. Always, clear the air before you go to bed. You never know when's the last time you're going to see each other. Always give a kiss when you leave the house. And, other things. My mom and dad were married almost 68 years. So we had good bones, basically, to speak of. We had good role models, and his parents, even though there was a divorce early, they were married 50 years, his dad and his stepmother. So we've had, good role models. So go ahead. You have something to say, probably, I'm sure.
Oh, I can't match you. Ain't she beautiful? Yeah. Well, we had the time overseas time was hard. I mean, I was 19 years old. I won't get personal, but the guys there at the base, and they always had their girlfriend. They had their things going on with the gals and stuff, and I wouldn't do that because I had a wife. And oh, come on, no, he's gonna know, no, he's gonna know. But I know about it. I mean, I can't go mess on a wife and sleep at night. I can't do it. So I had a lot of hard times from these guys. Give me static, give me junk, And I had one guy finally said, "You never really respect you, man." It was 18 months you didn't cheat on your wife. I said, "That's right." I said, "How come?" Because I'm in love with her. I mean, because I made a commitment to her, just her alone. But that's awesome, But most of the guys just say, "Yeah, that's junk," whatever. But so that was kind of hard. It's hard with every time you go to work and I get teased. Here comes neighbors, and you won't do nothing with these girls, And so, but okay, it was worth it, So, and we had times like I got heart problems, and she had surgeries, knees, and things replaced, and
I think every one of the vows that we said we've been through. So
Yeah.
You know,
Really?
richer for poor differently.
Been poor, man.
Not rich, no, but you
Been
know
poor.
that one hasn't got to, you know. I don't think I'd want to be rich. We're rich with love. We don't need the other money.
When my mom heard about that, I said, "Mom, we lived in Catchment Les for 3 days one time. You didn't have any parents?" I said, "I could have given you money, but Mom, what we have learned? Mom bailed me out. No, we were too young.
Yeah.
You guys are too young. 19, 18, you're too young. We'll show you something.
Well, that's
we'll
true.
show you
We were
suckers."
18 and 19, and we didn't, you know, wouldn't go back to them anyway because we wouldn't want them to say, "Well, we told you were too young." They never did try to talk us out of it, but
Yes, they did.
you know.
You sure you want to do this?
And as the years went by, we've had ups and downs. We've had, you know, family difficulties not brought on necessarily by us, but you know, other areas that really hurt and things that went on. But you know, you get through it. You know that we wanted to live our golden years together. We wanted to look back at our golden years, look at our life together that we made, and not. Unfortunately, some people don't have that opportunity. They know they've you know had separations, things like that. So that was our goal. So I would say our mindset before we got married was one time, and that was it. The D word wasn't in our vocabulary. We did not, you know, discuss divorce. We didn't. It just wasn't in our vocabulary. So I think that's a big deal with today. It's just too easy to get out of a marriage, and so a lot of people take that way out. And I can't believe that they wouldn't regret it somewhere down the line, because you change so much between like 18 like we were to now. You change so many times, and you've got to change together so that one day you don't wake up, your kids have gone, you know, you've wrapped yourself up in your kids and their activities and everything else, and then one day you're eating breakfast after the kids, you've got an empty nest now, and your husband or wife looks across the table and says, "Well, who are you?
Wow.
I don't know who you are." And so a priest told me that one time when we were younger, said, "Don't let that ever happen." And that, I remember that, and so we've always made sure that the together time is quality time, and just, it's been very important to us. So I would think that has a lot to do with where we're at today, you know, because of that. Nothing's been perfect, you know, up and downs, but, you know, we get through them because tomorrow always looks better than today sometimes.
Yeah, I love that you were talking about when you guys were getting together. I mean, you were already thinking about your golden years, you know, what you wanted to look like. It reminded me yesterday of the sermon where we were talking about the fighter jets when they're in that tight formation and they have that reference point on the lead jet. Like that is where you want to focus on. It allows you to kind of really project where your marriage is going. And I love that. I've heard of that. I've never, I think maybe I could even do a better job of that in my own relationship, but just knowing like what it takes to get to your goal. Like you want your golden years to be flourishing and thriving and healthy. And so you guys made a priority not to wrap yourselves up in jobs and kids' activities.
Well, I think we did wrap myself. I wrapped myself up quite a bit in grandkids.
Oh yeah.
But you know, when we had our 25th anniversary, we renewed our vows, and we actually had another marriage ceremony, and that meant more to us than our first one.
Wow, why?
It just meant more.
Well, we were
the
Christians
song
then.
that we had, our daughter at that time was 16, 17, I don't know, 18. She sang the song that we'd picked out, and it was a beautiful song. It meant I will be there when you wake up in the morning, this type of thing. What was the name of the song?
I'll be here.
I'll be here. Okay. It was
Stephen Chris Chapman.
also, we invited my flower girl and all those who were adults now to come and be a part of it. So we had the actual wedding, and she walked down just like the flower girl, and she was an adult now, you know, things like that. It was very meaningful. But our love for each other, it just was I said, I like that ceremony better than I did our original one. You know, we'd been through, and now we want to go through again. You know, we want to continue the journey.
Yeah.
And
it's almost
that's
like you
what
got
we
to kind of like
do.
refresh your mind of the vows, because like you said, we changed, our personalities have changed so many times. And I think, you know, when Jill and I first got married, I don't know if I actually intentionally thought of it, but I'm pretty sure I went into it like, this is who I am for all of eternity. This is who, you know, Jill's going to be, till the moment we die. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, every phase of life, your personalities change so much. I mean, when you first get married, you get the honeymoon season. Then you add kids, and then your personalities change. And then the kids get in their teenage life, then your personalities change. Even just little job situations. Jill can tell you that my personality has flipped 180 from when I was a youth pastor in Scottsbluff to leading a church now here in North Platte. She says, I mean, your personality has changed, and she loves it. She loved me when we first got married, who I was, and then she still loves me. Just we change over time. So it's just it's just I think it's almost just a natural process of just our changing.
Well, and some of them say that they have just grown apart. Well, you look back and say, why did you grow apart? Did you let your friends and your influences on the other side draw you away from each other? We had a couple, and I don't know how long you want to go with this, but they were friends we met here at the church. It was after we became Christians and everything, and they didn't have any children, couldn't have children. So they kind of adopted our two little ones that we had. And we spent a lot of time with them. I mean, a lot of time on our days off. They were over there at 8 o'clock in the morning, spend till 4 o'clock, whatever, all day and in the evenings. And one day I told Glenn, I says, you know what, we don't have any quality time with our kids. They're just here all the time, and we love them, but, the friends, but we're going to have to call it,
Yeah. So
we just sat them down and said, we love you guys, but we really need to get our home time. We can't just, be with our friends all the time. We have to really, cut back, on this. And they took it really well, but some people probably wouldn't. But that was something there you got to remember. You grow apart because you're not spending time together, all our time together. A lot of people say, well, you never go anywhere together alone. We do. We give each other the option to go places, do things, but we got married to be together, and we like being together.
Oh, come on, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's good.
I mean, that's kind of where it's at, and so you do see us a lot together. We're each other's favorite person, but we don't not have other friends, and we don't not go anywhere. Like I'll go if I want to go out for coffee or something with a friend. He's okay with it. I'm okay with it if you want to. But
just give me a sip.
We just soon do it together. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We like our friends, but we like each other too. So
I mean, that's what Jill and I, talk about, just kind of growing, closer and not apart. That's one of the things that Jill and I, we established is every Friday, we call it Fairbrook Friday. And that is our day. It's the start of my weekend from the church. My weekend's Friday and Saturday, but Fridays is for my family. There's exceptions if there's a funeral or a wedding or something like that. But besides, as this might sound harsh, I mean, especially those maybe who are listening and don't know the inside look of a pastor's life. But for Fridays, I don't take any ministry calls. I focus on my wife and my kids. We don't, we'll maybe invite a family over to have dinner or something like that. But I mean, that day, Jill and I it's just us. Kids are in school. I mean, right now it's even cooler because Aspen and Micah are in school. Aspen's in school all day, so we just have a little baby Brooklyn. We'll have another one here on the way. But I mean, we can go out and do these dates and do these things, and it's just us on Friday. And Friday night is with our kids, and we'll maybe order some pizza. We'll watch a movie together. We'll go to the pumpkin patch like we did last week. I think this week we'll carve pumpkins for Halloween or whenever Halloween is. And I think that's so important. And Jill, even now, we're talking. We just came back from Vail, Colorado. Enjoyed the beautiful Rocky Mountains. And I was thinking, I'm like, I don't want to spend this time with anyone else besides like my wife. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's Jill's my best friend, and I'm her best friend. And we've always talked of like, we have friends that they'll go off and do their own little vacations and all do those things, or the guy he goes out with his friends, or the girl goes out with her friends, or all these different things. And we've done little things like that before, but I can tell you, like, if I'm on a weekend, guys, with hunting and all that, I'll be thinking about my wife most of the time. Hunting's fun. I love hunting, but it's like I'd rather spend this time with my wife.
But it's healthy for you to be out with your friends.
And it's healthy, yeah.
It is, and we feel the same way too. It's just our preference is if they could do those same things with us, we take them, do it with them instead, or invite them along. But sometimes you got to do those girl things or those guy things.
Like I retired, retired 12 years ago. I look forward to it because we could be together all the time. What do you mean? There's some guys, that one guy at the rec center, man, he retired from, and his wife says, very good job, we'll kill each other. So you got a job at the rec center. I said, man, I love being, we love being together. We love it, man. It's just,
And whether she meant that literally or whether she just, but, it's
well, probably
but
not.
I've heard other people, other women
Probably
have said that.
not.
Well, I don't want him to retire because if we're home together all day, we're going to kill each other. It's like
Yeah.
that's not a very good
we
thing.
would
but
enjoy
And
I'm
there's
sure they don't mean
enjoy
it. But
yeah, and there's some relationships that are like that. I know some good godly marriages that they fight more than Jill and I fight. And
they
that's
get
just,
on each other's
yeah,
minds.
just how it works. But man,
Yeah.
to have a relationship that's kind of like you just mentioned about your friend is like I'm getting a second job to be more away from home because I can't stand being home more than I need to with my spouse.
yeah, we love it.
That's a hard way to live. And I don't know if this is right, but it almost sounds almost like a waste of time. If you can't be home with the one that you love, that you dedicated your life to pursue after.
Well, it's real
to be
hard.
with.
When we retired, we were looking so forward to it. But the day we signed the papers, actually, and did it, I just cried because I thought, oh my gosh, the railroad's taken care of us for so many years, 40 plus, almost 40 years, and gosh, how and I actually cried. And he said, "What are you crying?" I said, "I don't know." I says, "I'm happy, but it's just like such a strange thing." But where was I going with that? I was going to go. Oh well, anyway, I was going somewhere with that, and I forgot. But just scratch that. But anyway,
No, you're good.
No, but really, I just. But it was real hard. The first 6 months was hard of retirement, and so people need to realize that it's a change. I was a stay-at-home mom for most of it, so I knew he worked 8 to 4, and I had kids in school. I could do what I wanted during the daytime, clean house, do whatever. Well, when we retired, now I've got him, and I didn't know he knew how to cook. I mean, I knew he'd helped me, or he'd helped with laundry. Glen was always there to help. He never did. It was never 50%, but there was either whatever had to be done. Either one of us did it, and so what I found out was he would be in the kitchen, and I always did things a certain way for 40 plus years in the kitchen. Now I got another guy and somebody in there that's not putting things in the same place, but he doesn't burn anything. He's real good about cooking. He can actually cook really well. And so it took me about 6 months to really get past that. Like somebody else is in my kitchen, and stuff. So you have some adjustments to make, but that's part of it. You make the adjustments as best you can, and you move on, and you keep going. And it's a journey, and your journey is what you make it. It's what you make it. Mm-hmm. My son gave us a picture when I never really thought about it as the journey until he gave us this big picture, and it had a pathway in the trees and all that stuff down there, and it said the joy is in the journey, and that's been kind of my thing. I said I really never thought about that before, and it is. The joy is in the journey. So
yeah. So I mean, talking about uncommon commitment, you guys have gone, of course, through your ups and downs, and you had your 18-month deployment overseas, and you guys were just married, you were pregnant, and then you had the railroad life. And for those who are listening, for everyone that works on a railroad, that's a whole nother beast in itself with long hours and stressful times and layoffs. So there's those hard seasons, and now you entered retirement, and now you're home a lot more, and she's used to you being at work, and she's taking care of the house. So then there's that other season, there was hardships. How were you guys able to kind of stick with that reference point we were talking about earlier with commitment? Like how when it's more common now, when hard seasons approach a marriage, to call it quits and say it's not worth fighting through this, how are you guys able to fight through it? How are you guys able to stick together through those trialing seasons?
Well, I think the fact that my mom said that when we were younger about never going, to bed angry, that helped. At least you got that part out of it. We might not have got the problem solved, but at least you were able to be civil.
Yeah.
We didn't really fight that much, I guess. We had a few.
Yeah,
My
some.
daughter will tell me today, or my son said, "Well, gee, we thought you were going to get divorced," because a couple times they'd hear us holler. I said, "Well, that's nothing compared to what it could have been, and stuff." I said, "I didn't realize you felt that way," and I said, "Well, we wouldn't have got divorced because that wasn't part of our vocabulary." But I said, "It's just the commitment was." We're gonna get through this. We're gonna work this out. If it takes a day, 2 days, 3 days, we're not gonna totally not talk to each other. We never did do that. But we've got to find ways to work this out. And if we needed help, we would have gone for help. But we didn't feel like we needed to get outsiders involved. And
Yeah, you mentioned, not going to bed angry. I mean, Scripture says, "Don't let the sun go down on your anger."
Right.
My dad told me that. He says, no, don't go angry to bed. He even went a step further. He even said, he's like, no, don't go angry to bed. And he's like, if you're about to, then you know what? Strip naked and then start to argue and see what happens. And so, and maybe we've took that literal. That's why we have all these kids now. I don't know, but I think there's some real power in that because one, people don't like conflict in relationships. They'd rather push it aside, ignore it, and hoping and praying that it goes away. But we all know that when you do that, anger just kind of simmers on that back burner and becomes burnt and toxic and disgusting. How were you? I guess how did you guys practice that? Like practically, like not going to bed angry.
Well, not all the time. There's been a few times in the years we get mad about something. Well, whatever. Probably something nothing to me matters anymore. But and I would have been mad and this and that. You go to work in the morning. Your kids go by, just go to work. Then about 11 o'clock, get the phone. Huh? Honey, I love you. I'm sorry. How you doing? I'm sorry. It was my fault, whatever. And I was like, oh, it's okay. But, because I felt bad because if I would have died, man, last thing I'd known.
There's been times
So
we
we've
woke
done
up
that.
and, gone to bed that way because we were stubborn and woke up during the night and apologized to each other during the night because you can't sleep well when you've got something on your mind like that. And then none of our stuff you look back at it, none of ours was like that horrible. It was just at the time it was horrible. Things, you just think it's horrible and stuff.
Do you think the reason why people get so angry in their relationships and they throw out divorce as a regular term in their marriage? I mean, do you think people are more offended now in their marriages? Like if something was done wrong against me, I have this entitlement of like, I'm the one that's hurt and you need to apologize or suffer for what you did. Do you think that's more prevalent in today's relationships? It seems like from looking on that people are more hurt more now than ever in relationships, just with little things here and there, like he didn't tell me he loved me on a text message, or he did this or he did that, or are they choosing I don't know. I guess maybe the best way to ask it is, Jill and I, we talked about how we're quick to forgive and we choose what to hold on to and what to let go of with our anger. And I'm wondering if today people are choosing to hold on to a lot more than they should.
I was going to say, there's a lot more insecurity, I think, today. People won't admit it, but there's a lot more insecurity, I think. And their relationships, I think there's probably a lot more insecurity because people can get out of their relationships so much easier thanks to judges or whoever, just let them tear up the piece of paper and move on. And, you can even do it online now. You can get divorced online. I mean, that's good.
Or can you?
That's what I've been told. Now, I don't know if you don't have any children involved. And so, it's just crazy. I mean, all the things that there's up against nowadays. I'll tell you really honestly, I would not want to do it all over again in today's world because there is so much out there, so many different influences and this and that I know we could do it. It's like I say, if we got to the point of everything was taken away from us, like, the way the world situation could be, got taken away from us and we ended up really poor, everything was taken away, our homes, stripped of everything, we know we could do it because we've been poor. But the kids today, or adults, young adults, and those, they don't know what it's like to really be without anything because, like I've always told younger people that, the problem is, what it took us 40 years to acquire, you guys want it before you get married or right after you get married and stuff, and you need to slow down a little bit and say I want to get this with you. I want to while we're married, it's fun. It's make a game out of it. And this get a savings account, get this and that, and work your way up to these things instead of trying to get everything when you're first married, because then the excitement leaves. You don't have anything to be excited about, And but I think that a lot of them are insecure. Probably more today than usual. Everybody wants for one I could think of instant is when I was working, somebody had mentioned they were one person was paying with a check and the other person asked her, well, you have your own checking account? And I'm not against a woman having her own checking account or a man having their own checking account, but she says, yeah, because before we got married, I wanted to make sure that I had an account in case something happened. So they already predetermined before they got married that it might not work, or she did anyway. So that's not a good, healthy thing to do. You know, you need to get your mindset, as you talk Sunday, get your mindset before you get married as this is the way it's going to be, and this is what I hope it's going to be. Now, things do happen down the road, but if you have your mindset on a certain, I don't know, I probably got off of what you were asking. But,
No, I think that's good, because I think today people treat marriage like a contract rather than a covenant. And a contract, there's stipulations on what can make the contract void. So if you don't fulfill your end of the bargain, I can null this contract, or if I do something wrong, you can null this contract. And so I think what happens today is a lot of people step into marriage with only one foot. And that's how they walk into it. And we both know you can't walk around with one foot. You need both of your feet to walk. And so I think that's what happens today. And I think that's mainly part of why people choose to do more of, I call it playing house, but, they decide to do live-ins. They don't officially make it, because as soon as you get that stamp on that marriage, and oh boy, it's official now. But I think that's what marriage is supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
It's a chance you're taking.
And you jump in with 2 feet, and you
make it work.
You
have
exactly.
to make it work. When they are doing the other, as you mentioned, they can walk away so easy. But when they're married, it's going to take a little bit more to walk away. And so they're going to, they have to make it work, or they can still walk away, but it's going to be through more channels.
So you're telling me that marriage takes work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Like more, some days more than others. And other days, it's just pretty, you glide along, it's like, as we all know, 2020 has been tough for everybody, That's tough even for us. A lot of things have happened in 20 that we never had, the other years. They will go along for 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden I'll say, gee, it's been kind of easy gliding here for a while. Well, just to take a breath, because you know what's going to happen, now you, and not to be, negative about it. It's just that's the way life goes. Sometimes you're up on a mountain, and then all of a sudden, you're right down at the bottom again. So.
And no matter where you are, whether you're in the sunny mountaintop or the dark valley, I mean, you still have to have that reference point of where your commitment's going. Like you're committed no matter what. And I love the fact that you brought this up. And Jill and I, we have the same rule. And we don't have the rule in place because it's happened before. It's just we feel like it wasn't a fair arguing point to throw the D word out there when you argue through divorce. I've heard people, I've had some friends that they go through some arguments, whatever, and they throw out the divorce. Like, well, maybe it's better to split, or maybe it's better this, or just get the papers and do that. I'm like, man, you've already jumped to the extreme so far in your first fights of marriage that I don't know how it can get better from here. It's truly going to take, for sure, some sweat and blood and tears to make that going. But I think that's a huge thing too, is because people always want that out. They always hold on to that divorce card so tightly, just in case if it doesn't work.
And you also have to make your home a place that the other partner wants to come home to. If they're just coming home to a bunch of nonsense, or whatever, or I'm not saying that you have to come home perfectly to a hot meal every night, but a place that they can hang their hat and forget about the world outside. And if they have to come home and constantly be worrying about this and this and this and this at home too, so you but you work together on how you can make that happen.
For a married couple that's listening right now, and they're brand new married, which in fact we have some newly married couples. Fun fact I don't know if you guys know this, fun fact for our church, for those who are listening, is we've grown with a lot of new, baby Christians, and a lot of couples that were live-ins and they have children together, but they weren't officially married. 3-4 years back, Jill and I were praying like, Lord, would you put something in our hearts for them to get married? And the past couple of years, we've done a lot of weddings where these couples come and say, you know what, we want to do it right. This last one, that's literally what they said. They're like, hey, we want to do this right. We want to get married. We want to stop playing house. We want to get married. And so that's really cool. So for those couples who are listening, you're talking about you want to make your home in a way that your spouse could come home and thrive in that environment. How did you do that?
Look forward to coming home.
Yeah, how did you do that?
Well, I don't know. In my case, I knew what time everybody was coming home, and I had a time during the day to do it. And I did work in later years, and stuff, and we had to adjust. But I think mainly is make sure that your outside world activities are either, your spouse may know that you've got to do certain things in the evenings. That's that's just everyday life. But you need to make sure that they know when they come home, maybe they want a nice meal, maybe they want a clean house, maybe, just try to keep things the way, I guess, keep it up the way you would like, the comfort part of it, so that they don't want to go out and look around anywhere else because they're content on being in their place at home.
Yeah.
That they need to, gosh, I don't know, I've never really been put on the spot on that, but
kind of just goes back to like just treat them how you want to be treated.
Right.
Kind of back to the golden rule.
There's times at Glen, I worked, for about 12 and a half years there later on after Heidi was out of school because, she was in college and stuff. And so I started an actual job. Then I worked some part-time jobs, but there was times that I'd come home from work at night and he'd put on a fireplace because he knew when I walked in the door that would make me feel good. It would make me feel happy. So I guess that's where I would say is when your spouse comes in the door that night, you want to make them feel happy, make them feel like this is where they want to be, not out in a bar or out with their friends or whatever, that they actually want to come home to you and to your surroundings, your children. And, children can all be bathed in, dinner, and you can have a separate dinner together, not every night, but, once in a while. Make them look forward to coming home.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we had the perfect home, but I'm just saying a lot of those things my mom used to always say the word, keep the home fires burning, keep them burning so that, they don't want to venture out to other areas. So
yeah, I think that's really cool. And Glenn, I've got a question for you because a lot of times, especially for maybe the ladies that are listening to this, they think of like, oh man, like I'm just, I'm being Cinderella and I'm scrubbing the floors and cleaning and cooking and this and that, and he just comes home and throws his feet up and he's, serve me, baby, and it's all about me, and then I'll go to home and, we'll do it all again tomorrow type deal. I mean, I assume that wasn't kind of your take coming home, doing that. It's at least your marriage doesn't really exemplify that. My question to you is, I mean, she's doing that at home. How did you walk into that home that she's been preparing all day? How did you honor her in that? I mean, how were you able to walk in there?
Oh man, it's always like that. But the way we usually did it though, is I did work in the house too, because like right now I do all the vacuuming because she can't.
Well, I can, but it's easier.
No, because here's the back bother, so I do the vacuuming. Oh, the whole house. I don't mind it. It's we're in it together. But that back then, yeah, she had it all done. I appreciate it. I mean, hey, give me a nice big kiss, baby. Hey, thank you. It's nice.
He always appreciated it.
Appreciate it.
That's
what I do.
his question, but he
But
did
see,
always show appreciation.
I was looking at that one scripture there in Ephesians 5, and some guys told me this too at work at the railroad years ago. Well, I'm the man of the house. Christ told me I'm the head of the wife, so I'm the boss. Well, it don't mean that. It don't mean that. Honey, do this and basically be a doormat, Serve me at 5:32 every day, or be my bear or something, It's together. You're together as one. You're equals. So that's the mean you lord over. I'm the Lord, because Jesus, I'm the head of the house, No, you're not. Don't mean that. He says, you read the scripture following that, sir? He goes, what's that? Love your wife like Christ loved the church and died for it. Would you die for your wife? Well, where does it say that at? What? The next verse. It says, husband loves his wife as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. You love her that much? That's pretty heavy. Oh, I don't think that's in there. Yeah, it's in there. Go look at it. Ephesians 5:25. So that's how I love her. I mean, I love her like she's my equal. Yeah, I appreciate everything he does. I told her I do. Appreciate it. Appreciate what you do for me. Appreciate what you do. You're beautiful. I love you. I always tell her all the time, constantly. I love you. I love you. I send her little notes on the internet. I mean, I love you, sweetest heart there is. She's a couple hearts. She get it. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
Isn't she
So,
beautiful?
Well, I always tell people, they'll say, well, your husband looks really nice. Says, what you see is what you get. Always treats me like I'm worth something, and that he really cares. And if he would come home, like you say, on those days, if everything wasn't 100%, he got right in there and started, is there anything I can do to help you? Whatever. And that's important too, because it works both ways. It's not just all on one's shoulders, it's on both your shoulders. And if you can get that together, then everything else will work out.
yeah,
Right.
there's been some times, especially with my job, where I've had maybe just a horrible day at work for whatever reason, and there's actually been some times that, and I don't know if people that are listening that maybe this might help. Hopefully it helps, but there's been some times where I've had to park the car in the driveway, realize my frustration, and the first thing that I would like to do is go in there, take off my shoes, sit on the couch, eat some food, tell the kids go in the backyard, don't bother me, all this stuff. But I stop. I literally have to take some couple of deep breaths. I pray, Lord, would you help me to leave my day in this car? And I literally have to tell myself, this doesn't happen all the time, but maybe some really bad days at work where I have to tell myself, now's the time where I have to give my best to my family. Sure, I gave my best at work, but my family deserves better. And so now is the time to do it. And I think, Glenn, we talked about in Ephesians 5, where it says, it says that submit word, which I know a lot of people don't like that today, but, wives, submit to your husbands. But husbands, love your wife as Christ has loved the church. And it goes on and says, this is the great mystery of all of this, because this is how the world sees the relationship between us and God is through the marriage. And so I think that's so big. You're talking about showing appreciation for her. What does that look like? Were you buying her flowers every day? Were you?
You got to tell him
I got to tell him.
about the flowers. I just thought
Oh, he ran to work. That was he saved gas. He
Used to be
was a
runner,
runner, so he ran back and forth to work, which was 6 miles up one way, right?
one way,
Okay. So on the way home one day, I think it was my birthday or something, and we had a flower shop that was halfway home. So about probably a mile or
about the ones,
mile or
where
2
the ones are
mile,
at.
yeah,
We
somewhere.
live on the east side of town.
For the listeners that remember, it was Leo's Flowers.
Yeah.
Anyway, he comes home and he walks in the door and he's got this big hanging plant that he's running with all the way from downtown. That's how much he loved me. He did that. Several, different strange things he would do. Sometimes say, honey, you're too goofy, but he would do that. And I remember that. It was a potted plant that it was on a hanging basket. And I could see him running down the.
You running with not even a bouquet of flowers, it's a big old potted plant.
Yeah.
Really, B Street.
Yeah, it was on a macrame type of hanger, and it was just running, yeah. That shows your love, because you're not embarrassed to do anything for the one you love.
The guys were the one making fun of him. The women were like, oh, man, I wish my husband would do that.
So, yeah, he's done a lot of crazy things like that in our marriage, so, that's,
man.
that's what you remember,
I still
That
get,
makes up for the
I still get
times
giddy.
that are a little rough.
I still get giddy around here as a kid.
So I've got a couple questions I want to ask you guys. 'Cause
Okay.
we've asked these in just a kind of a roundabout way, but one of the things that I see a lot today, marriages, is couples just kind of venting about each other behind each other's backs, slandering. Maybe I call it gossip. I don't know what people are maybe call it complaining or friendship therapy or whatever that looks like. My questions for you guys is has that ever happened in your marriage, in your commitment with one another? Is that good for a relationship? Why or why not? Yeah. Talk to those couples out there that are, they're, just.
It's never happened. I never bad mouthed my wife. All right, that's what I call it.
Is that what you'd call it? Bad mouthing?
Bad mouthing my wife to my friends at work or anything like that, because I always try to uplift her, build her up and stuff. But I never have done that. As far as I remember back all the years, I've never done that, and there's no reason to. Because it's not. One thing, it's not Christian. One thing, it's not Christ-like. One thing, if you want to be like Christ, it's not Christ-like, and that hurts. And if it gets back to her or something, now that hurts. That kind of stuff. If you got a complaint, I got a problem, honey. Let's talk about it. Or say to me, I got a problem. Let's sit and talk about it. Have a cup of coffee. Talk about it. She'll have pop.
Right, talk to
I'll
each
have
other,
coffee.
not
You got
to.
a problem with something? Here it is. Just deal it right here. Okay. Not going to my buddies at work. hey, my old lady, man, she did this.
Well, it doesn't bring honor
No,
to your
never happened.
your marriage
Never will.
either. It doesn't, it just doesn't bring honor to your marriage, and you're one flesh when you get married. It brings you together as one flesh. So if you're hurting your husband in that way, talking about him behind your back, you're also hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And people need to realize you are one flesh. You're no longer, when you get married, your friends stay there, and you're with this person. So that person comes first over your friends, over your other relationships that you have, whether you like it or not. That's the choice you made when you get married. And so a lot of people don't want to leave that behind, So in this case, I would say no, you shouldn't be talking. It doesn't do anything good for your marriage to do that. I don't recall that I've said funny things. I have a friend at the pool. We're always, we've been married the same length of time. And we'll all say, yeah, what, so-and-so, and yeah, my husband, I could relate to that, but it's nothing. We're not complaining about each other. We're not, bad mouthing, as he would call it, either. So, yeah, it's just conversation.
Those guys at work years ago to talk about their wives, about their sexual life. I did this, my wife. What are you, neighbors? That's none of your business, my friend. None of your business I do with my wife. And they could ask me that. That offends me. Out of work, I was I do some. What about you, neighbor?
Yeah, your private time is your private time.
Yeah, just giving honor in all aspects. Right. I think that's it needs to be healthy.
And she's not my old lady; she's my wife.
Yeah,
not the old lady; she's my wife.
Yeah, and I think again, just bringing honor and upholding and showing value. I think that's missing in a lot of today's marriages. And I also think there is a line of like if there's a really rough season. I want my wife to be able to maybe go talk to her sister, and doing that. But I think the difference is, the difference between gossip and good Christ-centered conversation is if my wife is talking to her sister and saying, "This is what my husband's doing," and maybe her sister replies. And by the way, my sister-in-law is amazing. She does not reply like this. I'm pretty sure is I was like, "Oh yeah, he's a piece of trash," or.
Agree.
Yeah, or just agreeing with it instead of trying to bring the conversation back around to where God would like it to be. Because I think there is some health that, if you need to have confidential conversations allowed to take place, but if you are talking to somebody that's trashing your spouse or your special someone along with your confidential conversation, then it's not doing any good.
And they need to make sure that person know that this is confidential too, that you wouldn't be telling just anybody, but you trust their friendship, you trust their opinion, and that you're going to get good, even if it means you have to go to a professional. That, but you expect them to keep that confidence, whatever. Yeah. And so, yes, sometimes we have to turn to a brother or a sister or a really, really, really good friend, but you got to make sure that this is, not something you do as a habit. It's just something on occasion. You might need to just get it off your chest, but the best person to get off your chest to is the person that you're having a problem with, is your husband or your wife. And if you can, maybe not right at that moment, maybe you have to wait a couple of days till your different mood set. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I know.
I think that's pretty good with commitment too. You guys both have to be open to receiving and giving criticism to one another. Not that happens all the time, but as life goes on, it gets easier, and you kind of know each other, and so. But I think that's really big. So here's my last question for this podcast: is if you can give a piece of advice to a single person right now who's not married, doesn't have a relationship, they want to be married, they want to find that special someone. What's your piece of advice for them in just that waiting period?
I'd say I learned a long time ago. If somebody like a young person, pray for his spouse. Pray for a spouse that God will bring along in his life sometime in the future. You have to be the right person, and you'll know what it is. You'll know who it is. As I've heard, preachers tell me that, and people pray. If they pray for their spouse, they pray for whoever you are, man or woman, whoever you pray for your spouse to find a spouse that God lead you to her or him. That's what I think. Us, we just took a chance. We weren't Christians. We were church. Took a chance. Like I was California boy, and she was Nebraska, and I was like, you know. But it worked out great. But God has honored God's honored our vows.
Let's just say
Over
after
the years.
we got saved, probably because we were churched, but that when we found out Jesus should be a bigger part of our life, and we didn't know the personal part of it, when we about 6 years later, then even things got we lost friends because they didn't understand this and that, but we made better friends, and we were all more like-minded. No bars, no this and that, whatever. So it's just kind of more like-minded and more homebound, things like that are more. They had more things in common, really, than the people that are out in the world still that, really don't cherish marriage or relationships or, Yeah. So you lose some friends, but that's okay. We've survived.
Yeah. So
You make new ones.
So submit it to God. Pray.
Yeah.
Do that.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's it passes
Pray.
words. See, it's passed. I didn't do that. He said, submit it, man.
Well, God's got somebody out there that says, are you willing to
Yeah.
wait until he brings that person along?
Yeah.
So did he bring us along? I don't know. We feel that he must have put us together because, it's, I don't know. I just, my big dream in life was to get married, have a family, and I didn't care about a job particularly, being a big career person. And when he came along, you just knew, because I dated other people, but I just knew when he came along. That's why it, happened so fast.
The kiss did it.
The kiss did it. You're that good.
The kiss did it. Well, no, I'm not that good, but the kiss. I had 2 dates in high school.
Yeah.
We went out with any girls, hardly all.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
That's good. Well, for the married couples out there, I guess if you can give them one piece of good marriage advice, what would you say?
I'd give them a piece of advice. Like my dad used to always say, not about marriage, but you could put it with marriage. My dad used to always use the phrase, a stitch in time saves nine. And I would put that with marriage because, if you fix it while it's broken, you're not likely going to end up in divorce court. But if you wait till it is broken, it just gets harder and harder to fix. So a stitch in time saves nine. And so that's where I would say my dad was pretty wise with his words. And
yeah, back to, again, Jill and I were in Vail, and it was a renewed senior pastor's marriage retreat is what it was, and it was super good. But one of the counselors there, he was talking about, with marriage, too many times people wait for the red lights to come up on the dashboard in the car before it gets fixed. He's like, if you keep doing that, your car's not going to last too long. It'll break down. You have to get a new car. Right. So that's what happens. But if you do the regular maintenance on it, you do the oil change before the lights comes on, you get the new tires for the lights come on, and you take care of your car, be intentional and proactive in it, and your car is going to last you a lifetime. And he says the same thing goes with marriage. He's like, you don't wait till the red lights come up on the dash before you do something. Work on it, take care of it, maintain it, and do that.
See a problem? Address the problem with your spouse, because I don't know what kind of problem it could be, but we never had problems like that. I mean, as far as that kind. But
if you value your marriage, you'll get it fixed.
Yeah.
If you value your marriage.
Because you're both humans, not perfect.
Yep.
And don't go outside trying to find it somewhere else to fix, because it's not, it's going to be the same problem, just in another person or whatever, So, fix what you've got.
Can I say something to all the guys out there?
Yeah.
All the guys out there in Radio Land. Happy wife, happy life.
Take care of her.
Take care of her.
Love on her. Cherish her.
So you love her all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can't say it enough.
Can't say enough.
No, I agree. Well, awesome, guys. Well, thank you guys for being on Rock Talk. I know this is going to bless a lot of people. And I don't know if you guys know this, but people do look at your marriage as an example. And
I hope we didn't overshare.
And do that. Oh, absolutely not. We could have kept going.
We could have embarrassed ourselves.
No,
here.
you could have kept going. And in fact, we might have to bring you guys back on here in the future. You guys did awesome, but thank you guys so much. And again, thank you guys for joining us here on Rock Talk episode 2, talking about uncommon commitment. You guys will hear from us next week.